Chapter 3, Section 7 is all about absolute value equations and inequalities. This one's split into 2 days. We'll do equations today, and then in part 2, we'll do inequalities. So by the end of the second lesson, you should be able to solve equations involving absolute value and solve inequalities solving absolute value. Alright, I know that you guys don't have this one, and we don't always do it, but this one today is pretty important just to help you understand the concept. So Serena skates toward Darius and then passes by him. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second. At what time is Serena 60 feet from Darius? And explain your reasoning. Okay, then there's this question down here to help make you think, will she be 60 feet away from him more than once? Right, well, it doesn't say anything about her stopping once she gets to him. That's what this question here is talking about. So we need to think from where she is. If she's 100 feet away, it's 20 feet per second, it's going to take her 5 seconds to get to him, right? Every 20 feet is a second. So 2, 4, 6, 8. There she is. Okay, so here's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay. That means that here she's 20 feet away, 40 feet, 60 feet away. So after 2 seconds, she'll be 60 feet away before she gets to him. But if she's not stopping, she will also pass him and end up 20, 40, 60 feet away from him on the other side, which is another 1, 2, 3 seconds. So that means it took all 5 of these seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to get to him, and then another 3 seconds to get 60 feet on the other side of him, for a total of 8 seconds. So at both 2 seconds and 8 seconds, Serena will be 60 feet away from Darius. That's exactly what absolute value is all about. Absolute value gives us 2 possible answers, which means we're going to have to solve 2 absolute value equations for every one. Example, if I have the absolute value of x equals 5, what numbers could go in there for x? Okay, well, 5 would be equal to 5, but the absolute value of negative 5 is also 5. So I have 2 answers. X could be 5 or negative 5. All right, solve and graph these solutions. The absolute value of x is equal to 10. I could have a 10 in for that x, or I could have a negative 10. Absolute value of x is equal to 3 means I could have a 3 right here, or I could put a negative 3. Absolute value of x equals negative 2. Can I ever have a negative when I have absolute value? The only way possible is if there would have been a negative sign out here, but since there's not, this one is just no solution. You cannot have the an absolute value be equal to a negative number. Very important to remember that. All right, what are the solutions of the absolute value of x plus 2 equals 9? Alright, so if I'm going to solve this, what you need to do, we're just going to pretend like this is a regular x to begin with, and we're going to get rid of anything outside of that x. So we're going to subtract 2, and then we're left with the absolute value of x equals 7. Okay, so the only thing I have left is that x, and so we need to figure out what numbers could go in here for x to make this true. If I put a 7 in there, the absolute value of 7 is 7, so that works. If I put a negative 7 in there, the absolute value of negative 7 is also 7, so both of these are answers to this equation. Next, what are the solutions of the absolute value of x minus 5 equals negative 2? All right, same idea. I need to try to get rid of anything extra first. I will be left with the absolute value of what number is equal to 3. What numbers can I put into this spot in order to get 3 as an answer? Well, 3 is 3 steps away from 0, and so is negative 3. So both those would work. Okay, what are the solutions of 3 times the absolute value of x minus 1 equals 11? Just like chapter 2 when we were solving equations, we need to make sure that we get everything away from the x first. So this is kind of like your couple. Let's get rid of the third wheel by adding 1. So I have 3 times the absolute value of x is equal to 12. Divide by 3. The absolute value of x has to be equal to 4. So now our last step is to figure out what numbers can I put in for this x to get just a 4. Well, if I found the absolute value of positive 4, that would be 4. And the absolute value of negative 4 would also be positive 4. All right, these are always a little bit confusing, but let's see if we can talk ourselves through it. Solving an absolute, or to solve an absolute value equation. To solve an equation in the form of the absolute value of a equals b, where a represents a variable expression and b is greater than 0, you solve it so that a equals b and a equals negative b. Okay, so what they're saying is if I have some expression in here, let's say we have this, equals 12. Okay, so here's our a, the whole expression is a, here's our b. Then I need to solve it so that this whole expression is equal to positive 12 and equal to negative 12. So I'm going to have to split it so that it's all right, so we're going to practice that concept with this first equation here. The absolute value of 2x minus 5 is equal to 13. Very important. In this box here says the first step is to make sure there are no extra numbers on the outside of the absolute value sign. So nothing being added on, subtracted off, multiplied, divided. In this case, there isn't anything, so we don't have to worry about it, but make sure that that's always the first thing that you check for. All right, since we only have our term inside the absolute value bars, we're going to follow the directions from the definition on the slide before here. Everything inside here has to be equal to this answer and the negative version of that answer. So now we're going to split it into our two parts. First one is going to be 2x minus 5 equals 13. The second one is going to be 2x minus 5 is equal to negative 13. Okay, then we're just going to solve these accordingly and find out what our two possible answers are. Okay, so we're going to add 5 to both sides on each equation, which is going to leave us with 2x equals 18 and 2x equals negative 8. Then divide by 2 on both equations. We'll find out that our two answers are x equals 9 and x equals negative 4. Remember, there's always two answers to an absolute value equation. All right, this would be a good spot for you to pause the video, try it out yourself, and then come back and see if you followed the same steps and get the same answers as I do. All right, welcome back. At this point, we've already checked to see if there's anything extra added on outside of the absolute value bars, and there is not. So right away, I'm going to go ahead and split it. So I have 3x minus 1 equals 8, and 3x minus 1 equals negative 8. I'm going to add 1 to both sides on each equation, leaving me with 3x equals 9, and 3x equals negative 7. Divide both by 3. And I find out my two answers are x equals 3 and x equals a negative 7 over 3, or negative 2 1/3, however you like to read it. All right, word problem, much like that one at the beginning. Starting from 100 feet away, your friend skates toward you and then passes by you. She skates at a constant speed of 20 feet per second. Her distance from you is given by this formula. D is equal to the absolute value of 100 minus 20 times t. At what times is she 40 feet away from you? Okay, so your distance in this case is equal to 40. That's your 40 feet away. And so we're going to plug in for D. We're going to have 40. So this would really say 40 is equal to the absolute value of 100 minus 20t. Okay, there is nothing on the outsides of our absolute value sign, so we really get to set that whole absolute value expression equal to the 40, and then, again, equal to negative 40. Okay, so that's like being on 40 feet away on one side of you, and then 40 feet away on the other side of you. You're kind of like the 0. All right, so when I'm solving this, I'm going to have to get rid of this 100 first. So minus 100. Leaves me with negative 20t equals negative 60. This one leaves me with negative 20t equals negative 140. Okay. Divide by negative 20. Okay, and my time that it will take her is 3 seconds and 7 seconds. Okay, so 3 seconds to get, let's see, 40 feet away from me before she gets to me, and then 7 seconds to get 40 feet away from me on the other side. Makes sense? Make sure that you don't get any negatives, because negative time would not make any sense. All right, here is where that very important first step is going to come in handy. It says 3 times the absolute value of v minus 3 is equal to 9. Remember on that first practice slide it said make sure first that nothing is on the outside of the absolute value bars before you split it into 2. Well, I have this on the outside, so the first thing I have to do actually is get rid of that. Okay, because that's multiplying, I'm going to divide it by 3 on both sides. That's going to leave me with the absolute value of v minus 3 being equal to 3. Now I can split it into my two equations. First one being v minus 3 equals 3. Second one being v minus 3 equals negative 3. Okay, so I'm going to add 3. Okay, I'm going to find out that v is equal to both 6 and 0 in this case. Okay, here's another good place for you to pause it. Try it on your own. Come back and follow my steps. Absolute value equations can also have a no solution. Okay, that would happen if you are left with an absolute value expression equaling a negative number. They cannot equal a negative number. Absolute value expressions cannot equal a negative number. Okay, that's a good hint for you to be able to stop right where you're at and know that you're going to get a no solution. Okay, we'll do a couple of practice ones and then I'll let you work on your homework. What are the solutions of, look at this big long equation. Remember that our very first rule is to get rid of anything extra. Cross it out somehow. Okay, so this is multiplying, this is adding, so we're going to get rid of this adding first by taking it away. Still left with 3 times 2x plus 9 in absolute values equals negative 2. Then we have to divide by 3. We get the absolute value of 2x plus 9 is equal to a negative 2/3. Okay, I don't have to go any farther. I don't have to worry about this being a fraction because I know that I only have my absolute value expression left, and it says that it's equal to a negative number, which is not possible. So this is a no solution. All right, this one, I'm going to get rid of this extra minus 5. So I will have the absolute value of 3x minus 6 is equal to negative 2, but I can't have an absolute value expression equal to a negative number, so this one is no solution also, and I don't have to go any farther. All right,